Let's give Mark a big round of applause for interviewing someone on the fly. This was a stranger who came and was nice enough to call. And I had requested that someone from the internet call me when you guys started walking in. So you can see within a couple minutes, we had random people that we've never talked to before calling us and letting us interview them about our product. Yeah? So that's what we're going to show you guys how to do. We're going to talk to you about why this is important and show you exactly how to do it. All right. So first, some context about who we are. This is Mark, and I am Justin. Mark is the founder of an incredible company called Moving Worlds. They let you travel the world for free, volunteering your expertise. All right. So it's called movingworlds.org, and he can tell you all about it.
And right now you're hearing from Justin. Justin is also the founder, and we should say founders. Bounce is one, but I always like to poke fun at Justin because I feel like there's a new company every year. Some that are still here. But right now he's working on Need to Bounce and kind of the alignment of trying to start things, which as you know is hard, and lessons that we've learned is why we're talking to you right now.
Okay, is this better? Is the speaker better? Okay, no, not yet. All right, so, okay, so we also need to fix the resolution on this thing so you guys can see what we can see. Is it getting better? Is it getting better? Better? Let's try this. Apply. Hold on to that feeling. Yeah. Okay. So is the speaker getting better now? No? Yeah? Yeah? Good enough? Good enough? Okay. Thank you so much. I'm actually getting another.
All right, guys. Let's hear it for Lucas.
Yay, Lucas! Yay. Okay. Does that look like what it looks like on your screen there?
Yeah, it's pretty damn close.
Okay. Okay. Good. So we also. Oh, now that he's gone, it's scratchy again. Okay. So. Screw it. We co-authored a blog called Customer Dev Labs, and what we're all about documenting our experiments as entrepreneurs. All right, and so everything that we do that's an experiment, we go and we put up there. So it's lean startup experiments, and we won't talk about that much anymore. But customerdevlabs.com. All right, so this is not going to be your average talk, as you can tell already. We are going to have people calling us in as we give the talk, and when that happens, we're going to start the talk just like you saw, and then we're going to keep on going. Okay, so now I want to do a little survey. I want you to raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've ever surveyed your customers. Good, good, good. That's a pretty significant amount. Raise your hand if you've ever interviewed your customers. All right, that's a fairly good number. Okay, now imagine there was a product that made interviewing your customers easier. Right? It made one of these three things easier. I want you to raise your hands if you want it to make discovering interviewees easier. So raise your hand if you wanted to make it easier to find them. Okay? You only get one of three choices, by the way. So you've all committed yourselves. Oops. Conducting interviews, raise your hand if you want to make it easier to conduct interviews, if that's the most important thing to you. And raise your hand if you want to make it easier to analyze interviews once you're done. Okay, raise your hands high. Raise them high. Okay, great. Now, how much would you pay for a service that did one of those three things? Would you raise your hand if you would pay 99 cents per interview? Raise your hand if you paid 99 cents a month? And raise your hand if you paid nothing. Okay? Great. So what we just did, we're not actually here pitching a product. That's not what we're about. This was an example of a customer survey and a complete waste of time. All right? And so let me talk to you in more details about why that is. So half the questions I asked you in that survey were useless. All right? So the questions about what features do you want? You're not product developers. When I say discovering interviewees, I'm sure some of you have no idea what that even means or what that entails. Like, you know, what exactly, who are these interviewees that we're talking about? Analyzing interviews, what does that mean, right? Why am I asking you for feature sets? I need to be asking you about problems that I can solve. The other set of questions, how much would you pay? This one's obvious. Humans are awful predictors. We're really, really bad at it, right? That's why Miss Cleo made all her money, is because we're really bad at it, and she claimed to know the future, right? So this is dumb. People don't know how much they're going to pay.
And I think to jump in, one of my favorite kind of takeaways about people and sometimes our inherent irrationality, and this is a quote from Dan Gilbert, is that people are really bad about predicting what will make them happy, and they're actually even worse about understanding what has made them happy in the past. And this is like one of the leading researchers on this kind of notion of happiness. But it's this interesting takeaways that when we ask survey questions, we actually have to understand that a lot of times people don't actually know why they're making decisions, or why they're going to make decisions, or why they made decisions in the past. And that's kind of some of the science, if you will, behind why we're so bad at predicting how much we would be willing to pay.
All right, what's worse about these interviews is that I didn't ask the most important question. The most important question for all of our businesses is, do our customers give a shit? All right? I know you all need to be interviewing your customers, but if you don't know it, I don't have a company. I can't be out there convincing you. I can't be out there spending all of my time saying, you've got a problem, you've got a problem. I'm wasting all my time. I want to build a business that solves a problem you know you have. All right? So this is key. This is really important. Finally, there were no why questions in our survey. And why is the heart of any interview you want to do with someone. So why don't you interview your customers? I need to know that. That's going to be your underlying motivation. That's going to be the problem that I'm trying to solve for you. Why do you want that feature so bad? Because that's going to tell me, should I really invest in it? Do you want it because some other feature, some other company had it? Or do you want it because you really need it? And why do you want that pricing model? Really, again, you're not deciding my pricing model. I want to know why you want what you want. All right, so that is why that survey was a waste of time. And why we are such big proponents of this philosophy called customer development. All right, there's a lot of people who think they know what customer development means, and there's a number of people who do. But our definition is one championed by Steve Blank, and it's very simple. It's a pseudo-scientific process used to identify customer pain and alleviate it in exchange for money. That's all we're trying to do, right? But we're trying to be scientific about it. We're trying to eliminate the emotions. We're trying to identify pain and then solve it for cash. Yeah? So with that in mind, the surveys that we did, they're not entirely useless all the time. They can actually be really good at in measuring past behavior. People are bad at predicting the future, but they're good at remembering the past, relatively speaking. So questions like, have you ever? So when Mark asked, have you ever purchased an app for someone else before? He can easily say yes or no. Would he buy the app for his mom? He says yes, but we don't really believe him. The question that we really want to know is why? Do you own? Does your mom own a smartphone? Yes or no? These are simple, and those kind of questions on surveys work well. But they're not good for what kind of problems do you have? That's an open-ended question. Future behavior, why questions, and accurate results. Right? Like the example where I said, hey, raise your hand if you want blah, 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 and then lots of people put up their hand first. I didn't ask the question properly. I didn't preface it correctly by saying, oh, you can only pick one. So if you screw up asking a question on a survey, you've thrown off all your results. And maybe I wasn't in the room, so I didn't know that mistake was made, and I'm making judgments based on erroneous data. So surveys, they're useful, but certainly not the predominant tool you want to use. I would say that if you're when you customer discovery, about 15% of your time you want to spend on surveys, and the vast majority, 85% of your time you want to spend doing interviews. All right? Okay, so when I say interviews, what exactly are we talking about? I mean one-on-one conversations, just like Mark had, with potential customers. Getting out of the building, if you've heard the term getting out of the building, that's exactly what this means.
Out of curiosity, who's heard of Steve Blank and the kind of customer development model? Okay, who's heard of Eric Ries and the Lean Startup, either the book or the concept? Okay, so that's really kind of, we're pulling out some of the key portions of that piece.
So these interviews themselves, they're not a silver bullet either. They are a time investment. It does take time. And they're also not going to be statistically significant. So we're not going to interview enough people to be able to make broad generalizations. But that's okay, because we're looking for anecdotal data that can sort of drive the why, and then we can pull out and start surveying things to verify. They are incredible for identifying customer pain. Mom's always late. I have to tell her to be there 30 minutes ahead of time. Asking why, and for pivoting. This is really, really critical, and this is amazing. And this is what's going to help you beat any competitors that are out there in the market. It's going to save you tons of time and tons of money, this pivoting thing right here. Let me give you an example. So we're going to take this 15 and 85%, we're going to combine it, and we're going to show you how to do faster pivots. I'm going to show you by giving you my own example, the product that we're working on right now. The problem is being late sucks. So this is my initial hypothesis. People hate being late, right? And so I came up with a group of customer segments who would be very pertinent that they would be on time. So let me just get a feel for the room. Throw out different customer segments who it would be really critical to be on time for. Doctors, business people, great. What else? Interview, okay, doing a job interview. Gotcha, gotcha. Firefighter, great. Well? Airlines, great, awesome, awesome. Bride and groom, nice, nice. Okay, so these are great, and they actually align really well with the segments that I had chosen to prioritize. I chose salespeople, real estate agents, and busy parents. These are all people whose lives or whose careers depend on them being late. All right, so I'm going to offer you two options on pricing. What do you think is a pricing model that would resonate best with these folks? I'll give you three options. One is $5 flat for the app. Raise your hand if you think that's the best option compared to $20 for a year subscription or nothing at all. So raise your hand if it was $5 flat. Okay, $20 a year. Great, and then nothing at all. Okay, great. So it was a split between the first and third. So I conducted some interviews to sort of verify and get a sense of where they stood. It turns out this is not a problem at all. Not only will they not pay for it, it's not a problem they care about solving. So free isn't cheap enough. So the problem here is that it's so important that they be on time, it sucks so much to be late, they've already solved the problem. They already have their own solution, right? So imagine my first company that I built 5 years ago, I don't do this interviewing at all. I build an app for salespeople, and I've wasted months, if not years, building the wrong product, pricing it incorrectly, marketing it incorrectly, right? So if you guys can imagine yourselves, oh no, I got this great idea. Yeah, salespeople, they need to be on time, and you haven't interviewed them, stop what you're doing. Like, don't write any more code, don't pay anybody else money, go interview some customers. All right, so now I had a problem. One of my core assumptions has been invalidated. So what the hell? Are people even late at all? Like maybe I'm the only person on the planet who's late, and the people that I meet with. So I ran a survey. This is where we can combine the two. I ran a survey to see, how big of a problem is being late. It turns out it's not a problem at all. People don't self-report being late. So if I try and sell it to anybody, I'm going to run into problems. They don't consider themselves late. But this is one of the core principles from where interviewing came in. When I was doing my interviews, I heard the same thing over and over again. I heard, I'm not late, but my brother is. I heard, I wouldn't buy that app, but I definitely buy it for my boss. All right? So you can see that we combined this, with that insight from the interviews, I actually threw a question on the survey. And I said, hey, how annoying do you find it when other people are late? This is a problem. This is a problem that resonates with people, right? They get this. Far more than themselves being late, they hate it when other people are late. So you can see that what we did is we took these interviews, we combined them with the surveys, we took our initial hypothesis that people hate being late, that being late sucks for them, and we turned it into late friends suck. And this, my friends, is what we call a codeless pivot. Right? This is where I changed the entire structure of the business, all the marketing, I changed the feature set, we're going to change the name, all of it with interviews. If you guys have heard of people pivoting before, raise your hand if you know a company that's pivoted before, right? Raise your hand if you've pivoted your company before, right? Ask yourself, the next time you hear that, could I have saved myself time and money by just talking to customers? Right? That's what we did here. Okay, so we talked a lot about interviewing, about the importance of interviewing, and now Mark's actually going to talk about how to interview like a pro.
Sorry about the noise for a second. Sing? You want to go? We might get feedback. Yeah, here, you turn yourself off. Perfect. Perfect. We'll go. No. Am I feeding back? It's me. I'm sorry. Feedback? Was there feedback? Okay. I hear feedback. All right. Sorry about the technical.
We're nerds, but not this kind of nerd.
We're nerds and excited about interviewing. So when we were out on the balcony, you're like, why is this guy like yelling at me to go do things that I have actually no interest in doing, which is trying to sell a company or identify problems for somebody that I've never even met before. But when you were out there, was anybody asked any interesting questions? Did anybody get asked an interesting question during the second part of that activity? Okay, give me an example of an exploratory question. What have you done before? Okay, so again, not how did you feel about it, how much, but like something very, very real. Okay. Where do you meet your interviewees? Okay, what was your response? Okay, well there you go. As Justin pointed out, right? It could be online, it could be anywhere. Okay, anybody else? Any interesting questions that kind of got you to think about and maybe share something that you wouldn't otherwise have shared easily? Nobody got asked an interesting question.
I got asked, are you Russian?
All right, which was close. Okay, any other cultural, ethnic questions in there? To be fair, when we met, he asked me if I was Polish, right? So it's that. All right. One more chance. Anybody else? Any interesting questions, either during that exercise or any time before in their life where they shared some interesting information? Oh, man. I totally... All right, yes. Interesting. There you go, right? Well, and I think actually in that is the crux of interviewing, is you're not trying to just ask about behavioral questions or price questions, but you're actually trying to get, in a way, intimate for just a second, right? And you're trying to do it nicely, and you're trying to get insight. And the best way that we could figure out like how to sum it up, like how do you interview like a pro, we couldn't think of any other way simpler than just don't suck. Right, like, and I know that there's a lot that goes into like to not suck during an interview, and then so we tried to break that down just a little bit more. And rule number one in any interview is keep it about them, right? So how many people here right now have started a startup or in the process of doing so? How many of you get excited when you start talking about your startup? All of you. And the problem is you start talking and you don't get any good insight. Instead, the other people get excited because you're excited, and then they tell you things that are total lies. And so you have to keep it all about them. The other thing is open-ended questions. Okay, why is a great question. Do any of you like have that cousin who plays like the why game with you? They just ask you why, like no matter what you say, why, eventually you get frustrated. Like you're kind of going for the same effect, right? You really want to dive deep and get into the core information about what people are talking about. And the way that you do that is ask open-ended questions so they understand how important it is. And then the last one is just say thank you, right? You're using your time and you're using their time. And if you don't if you suck, right, it's a waste of their time and your time. But if you kind of be humble, if you can say thank you, and one question that I didn't ask in the end, we were just kind of trying to keep it trim, is we've noticed that in about half of our interviews, totally independently, at the end we can say, hey, are you open to us getting your email and sending you product updates when we launch? About half the people will say yes, right? Because they've responded to an ad about a specific need. And in doing so, unintentionally, we actually start some kind of organic viral marketing for the sake of one question, right? And some activity of just being nice. Sums up interviewing like a pro.
Nice. Ooh, okay, so now we're going to talk about finding people to interview, now that we know how to do it. There are a number of places to find them, you can start, and I often do this, by just practicing on friends and family. Friends and family can often give you skewed results because they want to help you, but it's a good place to just practice. You can ask for introductions amongst the people you know, right? You ask them, hey, do you know someone who's late, or whatever business that you're working on. Quora, LinkedIn groups, etc. There's a great place to find people. Cold emails work really well. And I say they work really well because they can also measure general interest in your product. I had one company, a healthcare software company, we were trying to pivot because we didn't know that we should be interviewing people. One of the things we did is we sent out a bunch of cold emails to potential clients and measured how many of them responded. And that was an indication of how much they want our product. If people are replying to your cold emails, then they probably want something. Strangers. This is a picture of me interviewing someone on Link Light Rail on their way to the airport because they probably want to be on time, right? Okay, but we're talking about Mechanical Turk today. How many people here know what Mechanical Turk is? Okay, so this is new information for a number of you. Mechanical Turk is a product by Amazon, and they provide a platform where people do very small amounts of work for very small amounts of money. So, who are these people who are doing random amounts of work for small amounts of money? There are two groups of people broadly: people who are bored and people who want cash. Right? We want to target people who are bored because people who are bored will be more honest with us than people who just want cash and want to do things really quickly. So what we do is we keep the amount of money that we pay them extra small, and that weeds out the people who are doing this just for money, and it sort of brings to the top the people who are just bored and want something fun to do. Another way to think about this is a replacement for solitaire or a replacement for Facebook. Right? These are people who don't want to spend all their time on Facebook. They want to spend their time doing something, and maybe they make a little money while they do it. Okay, so there's some other questions about, is this a representative sample of people of general population? The answer is yes. Surprisingly, these are normal people. They get paid the same amount of money that you and I do, and they have about the same education that you and I do. So again, this is a Facebook replacement. They are not freaks of nature. They are just people who want something to do, and maybe they make a little money on the side. Okay, so now actually we're going to show you what Mechanical Turk looks like. So Mark's going to head over to Mechanical Turk. He's going to go to mturk.com, and you'll see that there are sort of two entry points. You can enter as a worker, someone who does work, or someone who has work done. We're going to enter right now as someone who does work, just so you can see what their world looks like. So yeah, so here's our list of all the hits that are available, and you can think of hits, H-I-T, as mini job descriptions, really tiny jobs. So, yeah.
So that guy that just called me, he saw that we had posted a hit. He clicked on it. He's like, it's interesting.
Someone pays 4 cents, four pennies.
And then he, and it's funny, right? But people will actually go forward and do this.
Yeah, this one, right now, this is find a phone number for a business, and it pays 1 penny.
See that? So over here, it'll give me basic instructions. So it says, given the business information, find their phone number. Don't enter a toll-free number. If the phone number exists, respond with no phone. And if no business exists, respond with no biz. And they say, all right, the business name is Peak Rent It and Storage. Here's the address. If I wanted to, I could go to Google. I could look it up. I could find a phone number. I could come in here. I would type that number in, and then I would hit accept hit. And if I did that, and I did it properly, then they would pay me the 4 cents.
1 cent in this case.
Or the 1 cent. And it would be well worth my time. Considering we're doing this stock for free, that would be an actually great return on investment.
Yeah, screw you guys. Let's do some hits. Okay, so now let's see what it looks like to actually produce a hit, one of these little job descriptions. So Mark's going to go in here to get started. I've already created an account and actually have these job descriptions out here already. So if you go into create, you can see some of the templates I already have. These are quite easy to build, but we've already built some, and we've published them on Customer Dev Labs, so you can go check it out. You can get the code and get up and running really quickly. But just click on Edit for Customer Interviews, Friends of Late People. Okay, so here is the actual job description itself, or the hit description. Project name is up there at the top, Customer Interviews, Friends of People Who Are Late. And then the title, that's an internal name. This is the title. This is what people see when they're searching for the hits. A description below that, and then some keywords. If people are looking for things constantly, maybe they really like surveys or they really like phone calls. Below that is the amount of money we're paying. We're paying a ridiculous amount of money. We're paying $1 for someone to call us. Now, a lot of these surveys, there's a lot of services on the internet that will let you do a survey for $3 to $5 per person, but this is $1. I would recommend between 50 cents and $2 based on how quickly you want people to call you. We're doing $1 so that we can get people to call, but this hit happens to be so popular that I could easily do it for 50 cents and I could get people to call me all day long. Number of assignments per hit. So what that means is the hit is the job description. The assignment is the number of people you want to complete that. Right, so you can imagine, I probably, maybe I want to interview 20 people. The problem is if I put 20 right here, there's going to be 20 people calling me all at once. So I put 2 in here so that 2 people call me, and if one of them gets a busy signal, they'll call back. But then I can just redo this hit as many times as I want. Below that, then amount of time it takes for someone to do the hit. It only takes 5 minutes to do the interview, but in case they accept the hit, they say, I'm going to do this work, they're going to reserve it, and it's busy, we want to give them some extra time to actually complete it. Expires in 3 hours. I think of this as a ticking clock on the job description. If no one takes it in 3 hours, it automatically expires and goes away. And then hits are automatically approved in 21 days. When someone completes a hit, you heard, I don't know if you noticed, but you heard it, Mark, at the very end, mention the word watermelon. He said, hey, if you enter the word watermelon, we'll approve you for this hit. What that means is we're going to put out this job description on the internet. Anybody can go and claim that they've been interviewed by us. But only the people who typed watermelon in our password field will we actually pay. So we'll show you how that works in more detail. But if you don't automatically approve them, they will be automatically approved in 21 days. Okay, here is the job description itself. So you can see our version has, if you have a family member or friend who is constantly late, so that's one of the qualifications, and that family member owns a smartphone. So we're only getting people who sort of meet our qualifications already. If they're lying and call us anyway, it's really easy to tell. Below that is my Google Voice number, and you can create any Google Voice number you want. You don't have to use your real cell phone number. I don't suggest putting your cell phone number on the internet, just in case. And then a *67. If you put *67 before someone calls you, it anonymizes them to you, so you can't get their phone number, which is a requirement of Amazon. They don't want you being able to get contact information for Turkers so you can sell them crap. So you have to put *67 so they can anonymize themselves. And then below that is the password itself, watermelon. So this is the field, after they accept the hit, they call us, we say enter watermelon, they type in watermelon there, and we can see it on the back end, and we pay the people who typed in watermelon, or whatever other word you want. Anyone who's typed in some other guess, we don't pay them. All right, so let's preview it. And we're actually going to run this. So it's funny, while we've been talking, other people have been calling me, but I didn't want to interrupt what we were doing. So we're actually going to publish this so that we can get another interview in. Yeah?
Sorry, quick question. On the watermelon, if that guy has to accept the hit and perform it, he can't just go call everybody and say, hey, watermelon's the password, and then come claim his.
Well, there are only 2 hits out there available on the internet, so only 2 people in the whole world. So if you can find that other person randomly throughout the world who's called in and give them the password, yes, we would be in trouble. But I can also just pick sailing boat or roofies, and they can all be passwords. And as long as it's something that I've told someone, then it will be approved. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, click finish there. Okay, so and then he's gonna. So that's the template. That's the actual job description. We're gonna launch it now. Go ahead and click new batch. No. So they charge 10%. So instead of just $1, I'm paying $1.10. Okay. Yeah. So go. Oh, so here you can see. Yeah, you can actually see that right here. So this is one hit that we're gonna have assigned twice at $1.01 times 2. Plus Amazon's fee to 20 cents, and then that adds up to $2.22. And then you prepay, so you have to have money in your account, but you can put $5 in at a time. It doesn't matter, $1.
Are there other survey options other than phone calls?
Yeah, like you can define whatever you want in here, right? Like you saw Mark, the example he pulled up was enter in a phone number. So you could put any question you want in here. There's some like image categorization things, like go find an image. But yes, you can do whatever you want here. Okay, so we're launched and live, and then we have. Just want to make sure your Gmail's up. Okay, good to go. Okay, so now we're ready. So this is available on the internet. Sometimes it can take up to 15 minutes for these hits to actually get published, but as soon as they do, then we should be getting phone calls. In the meantime, let's do some more questions. that are sort of similar to Mechanical Turk, you mean? There aren't any other services that I know that do exactly what Mechanical Turk does. There are a number of services that live on top of Mechanical Turk to do something. So Mechanical Turk has an API where you can publish things, jobs to automatically. And so there's services like Crowdflower and similar that basically you give them a job and they go out and they outsource it to Mechanical Turk and they'll call you back. But this is the only like real source of small work jobs that I know of. Yeah.
Can you identify a geographical area to survey?
Great question. You can do it by country though. Country is the only restriction. But you can say United States or you can pick an individual country. Also, I highly recommend United States if your customers are here. You can get people in other countries, but you'll see fewer bored people and more people doing it for cash. So I highly recommend the United States.
And-
there are other qualifications you can have as well. You can say all sorts of other interesting qualifications.
Like in the description, you could say only call if you are from a certain area. So if you wanted to just customize it to Seattle or Washington State, it would limit the number of people and you'd have to qualify that when they interview, but you can add more qualifications to suit your needs. So a lot of times, like, we'll ask trick questions, right? So let's say, like, for Seattle, you'd say, are you from Seattle? And they'd say yes. And you say, okay, what's the zip code? Like, right off the bat. And you just kind of get a pulse. Like, some of them will try and BS it. Some people actually know. But you kind of have, like, or if you ask how old people are, like, you have to be over 21, really quickly ask, okay, how old are you? 23. Okay, what year were you born? Right? And so you can kind of ask some questions to help vet them out.
People also, hello? So people also, they hang up if it's a person calling, it's a person on the other end. So a lot of times they think it's an automated service. And so if they're gonna, I have no one lie to me out now who was talking to me on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
So you talked a little bit ago about developing questions. To be fair, it sounded really, really general. And I find when I've done a survey that developing questions is a lot of work. Can you dial it down just a little bit more than don't suck? Because, I know it's funny, but as a survey writer, I find it challenging. And maybe you could just go a little deeper.
Sure. So, and I would say because I'm gonna be mobile on this one.
Do it. I'm gonna follow you.
So here, I'm gonna come over to whiteboard. So, what we do for every survey that we're gonna put out, right? And I think there's a difference between like an interview and a survey. Survey questions are so hard, which is why we also say don't do it much, because usually insight isn't as good. The only real insight that I could give you, other than trying to work with you through surveys or recommend going to like Google and getting tips on how to write survey questions, because it honestly is an art. Like, there are statisticians that make a lot of money helping corporations write really good surveys. Whatever you're trying to test is like a hypothesis. So in Justin's case, he was saying people will pay to be late. So for your interview or for your survey, that's the only thing that you care about. And you have to try and get that. And so the only recommendation that I really have is like literally on a whiteboard, write down what that hypothesis is, write down different elements that actually will prove it or disprove it, and then ask questions around those topics. Does that kind of help? Okay.
I can just go through this real quick and talk to you about what I was thinking when we came up with this script, if that's helpful, or if we have other questions. Okay, I'm gonna just do this. So my goal, my hypothesis was, will people pay for an app for someone else? And if they will, do they want to do it as a joke, or do they want it to be sincere? That was the question. And then also define underlying motivations. So you can see most of the questions here. This is demographics. Is it a friend or is it a family member? And this is, tell me a story. Stories are great questions. Always ask the story question, because what you'll hear, this was really cool. He mentioned, I have to tell my mom to be there 30 minutes early. I've heard that over and over and over again. And guess what my marketing message is gonna be? Do you have to tell someone to be there 30 minutes ahead of time? Now it's a story that's like, it feels unique, that would resonate with you because you've been there and all these people, but I would have never come up with it on my own, right? So stories are really great for that kind of stuff. How does it affect your life? This is the why question. Why the hell do you care? And if so here we go, let's do it. Okay, Let me get my mouse back. Hi, my name is Justin. Can I get your first name, please? Grant. Hey, Grant. How you doing today? Good, good. So I'm here in Seattle, and we're just conducting a little research on an app. Happy to tell you about it, but I'll probably wait until we finish until we do. Is that all right? Fantastic. So you're calling because you've got someone, family, friend, who constantly runs late, huh?
Yes, that's actually me.
Oh, it's you. No kidding. Well, it's interesting to talk to you. So go ahead and tell me, why is it do you think you run late?
Just always, usually I can't find my stuff. Like I'm going to leave the house and, I can't find my keys or my wallet or something like that.
Yeah, no kidding. No, that resonates with me. So why is it that you haven't found a solution for the keys problem?
Honestly, I'm not, I've been told that I should put them all in the same place, but yeah, I'm not sure. Usually they're in the couch or somewhere crazy.
Yeah, I have the exact same problem, and I've been given the exact same advice, and I also haven't listened to it. So if you were gonna guess, like, be a therapist for us, why do you think that you and I don't follow that advice?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I would say, like, because, I don't know, it might be like laziness, it might just be, I don't know, I'm not usually thinking about where my wallet is, I'm usually thinking about other things. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the problem would be.
Okay, no, that's great. Okay, so tell me about being late and how it affects your daily life.
College, I'm late for classes. That's no good, especially labs when the professor isn't too happy and decides to call you out in front of everyone. Sometimes being late for work, that's a pain. Of course, everyone can commiserate with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like having everyone expect that you're late.
Right.
Because you're going to be late.
Right. Okay, so great. So late to work, late to class, and I sort of understand why that's a problem. But just spell it out for me. Why is it late bad to be late for work for you in particular?
To be late for work?
Yeah.
Because it makes me look unreliable.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And are there any sort of demerits, or does your pay get docked, or is it really just you don't want to look?
I think they threaten. They'll threaten it. They will dock your pay, but they'll be like, you're late a lot. You could probably hire someone who isn't late so much.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Okay, great. So have you ever purchased a smartphone app before?
I've never purchased one. No, I usually have free apps.
Yeah. And what's your favorite free app? That's not a game.
That's not a game.
Yeah.
Let's see. Probably the most useful, I would say, is Google Maps or Reddit is fun is a good app.
And why do you think you haven't paid for an app before?
Honestly, I just got a smartphone recently, so I was just trying to explore all the free apps before I started paying.
Gotcha.
Imagine the most I'd pay is like $1 or $2 for an app.
Okay. Okay. So if there was an app that made it easier for you to be on time, do you think you would break the trend and you would actually buy that app?
If it had good reviews, if perhaps, people that I know liked it or used it, most likely, yeah, honestly. If there was an app that could actually help me not be late, yeah, I'd probably use it.
Great. And why do you think that you would buy this app over others?
Like, as opposed to other apps?
No, sorry. Since you haven't purchased any other apps before, why do you think this would be the first one that you'd purchase?
Why would it be the first one that I purchased? Mostly because not many apps have the ability to interact with your physical life. Most of them pretty much stay on the phone, you know what I'm saying?
No, I totally.
Like,
Okay, great.
it's like one could actually help me solve like actual real life problems, so that'd be pretty revolutionary.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, my man. Well, that's all I have as far as questions goes. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, we're building an app to help people be on time. If you'd like, I'd be happy to send you an email about it if you're interested.
Yeah, sure.
What's your email address?
USSASSINS
At the Gmail. Awesome. Fantastic, my man. Okay, the password you need to enter is watermelon.
Watermelon?
That's it, just like the fruit.
Awesome. Great,
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Hey, you too, man.
Bye. So that was an interview, yeah? Okay, so if he lying through his teeth, he has no idea that if he's going to buy this or not. The answer is no. There's no way in hell that my app is going to be the very first one that he buys, especially when the answer to why would you buy this is and I love our friend. He was honest and great, but he just doesn't know any better. So you heard me even pushing him basically saying, I don't believe you. You're lying to me. You guys need to be doing the same thing if you want to really get to the crux. Don't believe what people say, especially when their previous behavior has not indicated that they will do what you want. You know? I don't know what time our session ends. Do you guys know?
Couple minutes.
Awesome. We got 2 minutes left for questions. What's up? Yeah, let's go ahead.
So is there a way to use this to reach B2B, to test out a B2B model?
Yeah, great question. I've done it mostly for consumers. The way that I would target B2B is being very specific about the requirements and the job description. Basically, I would target the person in the business who I wanted to talk to and sort of hope that they come online. So maybe it's an HR manager. If you're an HR manager, please call me. Those ones are going to be a little harder to find, but just that's also indicative of the difficulty it is to find HR managers everywhere.
Right.
So if you have a hard time finding them for interviewing in general, you're going to have a hard time selling them. Just remember that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a little trickier for B2B.
We've had more luck on like LinkedIn groups and Quora.
Yeah.
So other than phone call, what is the other way actually we could do surveys like this to Mechanical Turk? Can we submit some forms, questions, they can answer and send it back?
Yes, you can. Do not do that. Surveys suck. No, I don't mean to be terse, but yes, there are tons. You can definitely have people do surveys. The survey that I had finished that I did was via Mechanical Turk, so it's very easy to do. But really, like surveys are so easy and they're so wrong. Don't do them.
So you are saying that phone survey is the best one?
The interviews, yes. These conversations that we have.
This is the best other than sending a form and ask them to?
Absolutely, definitely the way. That's the way to discover real customers and real problems. Yeah, in the back there.
Quora. Quora. Quora.
Yeah. In the back, very back.
If I was going to hire you to do this work for me,
Awesome question. Yes.
what's my cost? I'm paying $1, $10, or $1.15
Uh-huh.
for that answer. But you spent at least 5 minutes in the interview process. So if I were to try to forecast this, that I wanted somebody to survey 200 people and give me the metrics back on a per class basis, what should I be looking at?
This is a great question. I'm so excited you asked that. You have to give me your entire business. And the reason is you cannot outsource this work. It absolutely cannot be outsourced. If I outsourced this work, I would have never thought, oh, it's the friends who are late. Maybe I should test that, right? Like to hear in his voice that he doesn't, that if I paid someone else and they wrote down, yes, I would buy your app. And why is that? Oh, because ... I couldn't hear in his voice that no, the answer, that he wouldn't. So as soon as you outsource customer development, you've lost almost all the value of it. So you have to do it yourself.
Using LinkedIn or Quora, do you refer them to a Mechanical Turk link, or how do you get them a number and reward them?
There's just in the interest of time, we wrote a post on it on our customer dev labs, and if you come up and talk to me afterwards, but it's like I actually try and start a conversation with them after and say, hey, I see you asking questions about this. Do you mind if I pick up the phone and call you?
So this is more around question writing. One of the things that for my current company that we need to figure out is pricing structures. And I was wondering if you had any insight on ways to ask the pricing structure question without automatically leading them to the cheapest option in the list. And beyond, like, what would you pay for this? I know that's open-ended. I was wondering if there's anything
Yeah.
more subtle or more sophisticated.
So pricing questions, they're best to test with actual behavior. So pricing question is a future behavior question. And so there's really, the best way to test it is to put it in front of them and see how they react and A/B test it. Sometimes, especially for B2B scenarios, that's not applicable because you just don't have that big a market. In that case, there are a set of 4 questions that you can ask. There's some blog posts about this as well, not on our blog, but others. And the questions go something like, what's the most you could imagine paying for this? Where is the border between, where does it get just barely too expensive? Where does it feel like you're getting a good deal? And where does it feel like this is too expensive to be high quality, like the quality suffers? So you can ask those 4 questions and get a sense. But again, if you can, this is a great experiment to run pricing questions. Yeah.
So this ties back to the previous question. You're saying don't outsource the interviews, but how do you account for founder bias? In terms of a founder listening to a customer and only hearing what their presumptions are.
That's a really good question. And one that I don't really have a good answer for, to be honest, because I'm biased all the time, and I try to not to be. But I think, Hard Knocks has helped me, like, because I know what the failure looks like, and I know what it feels like to spend years wasting time. So now, to me, I don't build a business unless people are like shoving money in my face to like take it, right? So for me, I have a very high bar, but it's a really good question. I don't know.
In like a really easy fix is find somebody who's not a founder and have them do an interview with you, right? And then afterwards talk about it. You know, I think we've learned a lot from doing that with each other because I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna love it, and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure I was gonna go. Really? Let's test that assumption again. So I'm sure you have a friend that you can rope into a couple.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. Like, to kill founder bias, Mark and I work together, again, obviously not in the same company, but on different things. And I know he sees me doing stupid stuff all the time, and I see him, well, he never does anything stupid. But I do stupid stuff all the time, and I can tell in his face, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, should I?
Yep. So we gotta.
Okay, so we're all done here. CustomerDevLabs.com to subscribe to us. Also, if you do something lean or do an interesting experiment and you want publicity, tell us about it, and we'll put you up here. We'll tell your story.